the Stairs Hurdle, Tiapu. I think it's this is the race where, depending on when in the season you'd have asked me about it, I would have said the same things, but I would have been preempting my views in the future. And I think it's happened pretty well, to be fair. Now, Tiapu's never, for me, been a juicy price anti-post, with the fact that he does get kept fresh, and the fact that we get a whole season of horses trying to throw their sort of hats into the ring to go and win this race. And for all I think he'll be fine on better ground. He would probably prefer it softer. I mean, that dampens the chances of a lot of his opponents in there as well. But the closer you get to the event, his prices can only get shorter, really, unless some standout star comes. And it has started to collapse. So he's now available at 11 to 10. So still odds against. I think it was about 11 to 8 on the exchange yesterday, but there was quite a bit of money trying to back him at 6 to 4. And of course, last year he got absolutely hammered on the off. Went into 5 to 4, I think, in the end. But he was available at 5 to 2 when I was doing the previews about this time last year. So he's always been a bit short, but this is easier than last year by some way. I know he's run behind Lossiemouth. Gordon Elliott's saying it's as good as it was last year when he beat Imperial Pass. I don't think it was. It wasn't as good as last year's run. But you can't judge what he's going to do in the spring on the back of that, because he is a horse that goes well fresh. But there's reasons why I can see why people would want to take him on a little bit. It's just the problem now that the prices that everything is in behind, they're probably a bit of a muchness, dare I say. Home by the Lees had 3 cracks at this race, and if it came up good ground, I'd say, okay, there's the scenario where he might be able to do better than he's done in the past. But if it's not that type of ground, can't win the race as far as I'm concerned. So you wouldn't want to play him as the safe each way alternative. He'd be like a Mr. Coffee probably. Lucky Place, I have bet him at the start of the season. He was the one that I looked at and thought, if someone's going to come out the woodwork, it's going to be him. He's not been able to come out the woodwork yet, though, because I thought after he first ran at Ascot in that Coral Hurdle, the Ascot Hurdle, that they'd run him in the long walk, and then they didn't. And then I thought, oh, maybe he's injured. And then they ran him in the real kill, and I thought, oh, good, they can go for the cleave then. And then they haven't run him in the cleave. And for all that Nicky Henderson says he'll stay, and I think he will. I was hoping by now he would have had a bash over 3 miles in a Grade 1, and we'd have seen his rating be a bit higher, because he's got £10+ to find on Tiapu on figures. But at least he's got the reason to make that improvement. The step up in trip could make him a stone better horse. So I like him, but you have to accept the fact that he isn't as good as Tiapu at this point, and he isn't proven at the trip. So again, worried about backing him each way in there. The Wall Park, like I said, potentially could go to the Thames, but I think he does look the type similar to like a Lucky Place that could step forward just through racing this season and put a bit of a challenge in there. But the more I go through it, or I start getting further down, I think you can make cases for so many of them that could all fit in the frame. It feels like last year when people were trying to take on Tiapu and saying Crambo was a solid each way bet and stuff, and it doesn't pan out. Have we just reached a point now, Will, where we have to just accept that as much as this is a Grade 1 and it's a championship race, it's just not a very good one this year, and Tiapu sets a standard that really, bar incident, nothing should be able to get close to him, and the even money about him now starts to look like it's generous.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard with horses like this who are campaigned sparingly and we know are going to turn up fresh and well on the day, because we can't get a gauge as to their level of, their level of form or fitness. Not fitness because we know they're going to be fit, but just their general well-being and form. Yeah. And so to back something at even money at this stage where you don't have that recent evidence of just where they're at, it's not for me. Probably not even for me on the day, really, even if he is strong in the market, etc. And it's probably one of those that you'd want to, actually on the day, see him in the parade ring, see him fit and well. Gordon Elliott's had a good meeting, and then you're thinking, okay, well, he's probably going to run to form and he's probably going to win. That's only the point where, with this type of horse, do I think that's the time to even consider backing up the price that he is. Again, it could be a market where the without market is an interesting option, because I'm not completely sold on Home by the Lee as the second in the market, and then not completely sold that Lucky Place and the Wool Park are a definite cast iron, either classy enough or strong stayers enough, or a combination of the both. The one that of those two that could probably improve is Lucky Place because of that stepping up in trip angle, but like you, I wouldn't be cast iron guaranteed. I think the one, if you could get a market without each way 3 places and you're getting, 9 to 1, 10 to 1, then Gal Road, would probably be the one, because he's probably going to finish 3rd, 4th or 5th you'd imagine. If one or two others didn't quite run up to their race and he ran his race, which he always does, he might even, fall into second maybe, because he'll keep galloping. But, that's for further down the line. That's for closer to the time. Beyond that, not too many of those at bigger prices that really start to excite, I must admit. It's not a race that I'm overly excited about right now, and probably won't be even nearer the time, I must admit.
Yeah, and that's where I mean about the timeline of it, where the price that Tiapu's been throughout the season, like he's always been defensively enough priced, I think, that given how far out you'd have been betting him to get, say, 5-2 or 3-1 or 7-2, you'd be betting him in the summer, and then you've got to wait a whole season. So the risk attached to that didn't make it scream at value. And then it's just this, it's always there. And like you say, it could be you get to the day like last year when he got smashed, and then you think, oh, well, we definitely know he's off, he looks good and all those sorts of things. But by then he can end up being 1-3. But it's just like at this stage, you don't want to be steaming into him at even money because, I don't know, you feel like there could be a drift, or I don't know, any sort of those negativity vibes that come out wouldn't make you want to have more on. They'd make you worry about the fact that you've bet him in the first place. One I will just have to say, because I think he needs to be mentioned, is Langadan, right? We touched on him slightly in the Coral Cup, 158 that he's rated. He did win at Aintree last season. He's actually shown that the Coral Cups obviously wasn't a fluke the first time. The spring thing that Dan Skelton talks about, for whatever people think that he's doing it on purpose or he's not, is a fact. He does run better in the spring. And on figures, he doesn't have very much to find with Tiapu if we trust his official rating, which, like I say, he's backed up in graded races in the spring last year. He's 20-1. And when we talk about some of these other ones, like the Gal Road, which I fully accept, he runs to 145s like all these RPRs, isn't it? Like I can't imagine him ever finding anything to go and win this race, but he's definitely going to be there. Like you say, he's the third, fourth, fifth type horse. There is a realm where Langadan could show some of that form from last year and progress a little bit. He loves it at Cheltenham, and the fact that he is stepping up in trip, and it could be the key to find a little bit out of him. Do you think that Langadan could be the fly in the ointment? And where we say that Tiapu is probably defensively priced, like Langadan probably isn't very defensively priced, because they could make him 10-1, and we could make a similar sort of case for him, I reckon. But 20s, does that seem big?
I think for him, I don't know if he's a guaranteed stayer. That's the only thing for me. I think at Aintree, at Sandown, at this level, last year after the Coral Cup win, that's his bang on trip. I think just over 2.5 miles. Suits him perfectly. Don't forget the Coral Cup is on the old course as well, compared to Stayers Hurdle on the new course. So it's not only stepping up in trip, it's also on a lot more stamina required track. So it wouldn't be for me. Like in terms of pure ability, he's probably up there with some of them. But to win a Stayers Hurdle, it's not for me. I could see the angle in that he'll probably run a lot better than he has done. But yeah, not for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Because he's one of those. Because he's another one I've put up. So a couple of friends put him up a long time back. But I've bet him at like a reasonable price. He's one of those. I think I want to make a bit of the case for him because he's 20-1, as opposed to I think he can definitely go and win the race. But again, it's almost like the scratching around type stuff. And I like Tiapu last year was one of those that I feel like everyone was doing the same, was trying to find something to take him on when there was no point trying to take him on. And just because he's never been the juicy prices this year, I'm not like as on side of him as I was last year. He probably does just win this one, doesn't he? But again, I don't know if there are better even money bets. Like I feel like he probably sluices up, but there's something stopped me pulling the trigger, and I've been like this the whole the timeline through the season. So don't have to bet in every race, do you? And not every even money shot goes and wins, do they? So that's the Stayers Hurdle cover. What
every other one doesn't. That's why they're even money.
Well, absolutely. I've ended that on such a dim note, haven't I? Let's be more positive. It's a championship race. I'm really excited about it. I'd love to see him go and win it again. It's nice when you get a horse that sets the standard and then manages to maintain it. And it'll be good for Punchestown, because we can get stuck into him there as well.